freedom and beauty to everyone. Or I wish I could say that because there's neither of both on this episode. So let me just get right into it. I'm going to try make this video short and quick because again we go to the usual, too much talking, way too little action on this episode because really almost nothing happened. This episode did not need to be over an hour long. This could have fitted perfectly in a half-hour episode, but no, it has to be a 1 hour. So anyway, let's get to it. We begin this episode with Galadriel waking up after the pyroclastic cloud hit the village. And I'm sorry, this from the very beginning we have something extremely stupid because she's fine. I mean, look at her. She is not only is she alive, she is unhurt, completely unhurt. I mean, even her sword is still hanging from her shoulder. She was hit up front with a extremely superheated pyroclastic cloud of ash and fire, and she's fine. Her hair is completely fine. She still has her hair right here hanging over her shoulder like nothing. And I mean, this poor horse is on fire. This horse hair caught fire, but no, Galadriel is absolutely fine. And not only her, but also Theo, they meet with each other and they leave the ruins of the village. And not only them, Isildur is alive and he helps the queen rescue some people from a burning house. But the roof caves in and Isildur gets trapped inside. And I'm sorry, nobody should have survived this. You saw how at the end of the last episode, how that enormous cloud of superheated ash and fire swept across the whole valley in a few minutes. So it wasn't only incredibly hot, it was also moving at a very, very high speed. So just the impact should have killed them, everyone. And also the heat after it hit, the heat of this cloud after it reached the town should have cooked everyone alive, because even if they didn't burn, they should be dead, because you see, pneumocytes, the cells that compose the smaller that compose your lungs, if they receive air that is heated, I think it was like 60 degrees Celsius or more, I think it was around there. I don't know how much is that in Fahrenheit, sorry. But if your lungs are heated over 60 degrees Celsius or something, they die. Those little cells that compose the functional part of your lungs, the part where the exchange of gases take place, if it's heated too much, those cells die, and those cells cannot regrow, so you lose pulmonary capacity. And look at this place, it's burning, everything is burning, the air itself is burning. These people should not be able to breathe, their lungs should be destroyed, and if not by the heat, then by all the ash on the air. The air around them is saturated with ash and sand and dust and whatnot. Everybody should be dead. everybody on that village should be dead. Her especially. But anyway, we move back to the Harfoots. Norris' family finally arrived with the rest of the troop, but apparently they also got hit by the volcanic eruption. And they want to ask the stranger to fix all the trees that got burned, because this is one of the places they stopped to gather food, and now there is almost nothing because everything in that little valley is burned. And there was no need because he is already talking to the tree, performing his magic, but it didn't. Apparently, it didn't work because a really big branch of the tree falls off and it falls on top of Nori and her sister, and everybody gets really worried about it. And meanwhile, in Khazad-dûm, Elrond is pleading to King Durin to let them mine the mithril because their people the elves need it, and he promises a lot of things, but the king asks him to leave. Then he talks alone with his son, the Prince Durin, and he says that he's not going to help the elves shit dead because it's time for the elves to die, because it's time is the natural order of things, blah 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 blah. And then Durin tells Disa. Disa doesn't, obviously is absolutely not happy about this, because she has come to really like Elrond and thing. So they tell the bad news to Elrond, and they have a really teary-eyed goodbye. But then something happens, because Elrond gives Durin back his shard of mithril, and Durin then places and Durin throws the shard of mithril on the table, and it falls right beside an infected leaf that Elrond brought as evidence of what he was saying was true to the king. And just by being near to the mithril, the black ichor that was infecting the leaf disappears. Meanwhile, back in the ruins of the village, outside the ruins of the village, Galadriel and Theo are sneaking by the orcs, and they start to make this like kind of bullshit, rubbish mentor-apprentice relationship, because now Galadriel is taking care of Theo because Theo is young and really emotional, and she tries to be the voice of reason. Meanwhile, with the surviving Southlanders and Númenóreans, Elendil sees Isildur's horse, but Isildur is nowhere to be found. Then he meets up with the queen, who appears with one of Isildur's friends, and he asks them where is his son, and they don't answer him. They just look at him really sad. Then back again with Galadriel and Theo, and Galadriel is trying to teach patience and discipline to Theo, that he has to keep his head cool and not give in to wrath and hatred, and it feels that she's talking to herself as much as she's talking to Theo. Back again with the Númenóreans, the queen apparently is blind now. She can see. She thinks they're still covered with smoke, but they are not. But meanwhile, back with the Harfoots, old Sadok gives the stranger the map with the constellation that he's finding, and gives him instructions where to find other big people, because everybody is afraid of him, so they want him gone. But old Sadok doesn't notice that the tree that the stranger was trying to heal with his magic actually sprouts a flower. And Nori has a really emotional goodbye with the stranger, and the stranger leaves. And later she's talking with her mother, and she says, "You're right, mother, I'm just a Harfoot. never be anything more than that. I should have stayed on trail. I should have not talked to the stranger, blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, back again with Galadriel and Theo. They're still talking, trying to bond or something, and Galadriel tells him that he has lost dear ones to the orcs. First her brother Finrod, and then her husband Celeborn. Yes, Celeborn is dead. Now, in case you don't remember, Celeborn is the guy, the male elf who is with her in the Fellowship of the Ring when they arrived to her forest after exiting the mines of Moria. So what the heck? He's dead? I mean, Galadriel thinks he's dead, so I suppose he's going to appear on a later episode or maybe on the next season, because yes, there will be a next season. Oh dear God. So anyway, Theo says that Galadriel shouldn't feel responsible for what happened here because it's actually his fault, because he gave power to the enemy by uncovering the sword and allowing himself to be seen with the sword by the old man, who later informed Adar of the sword and whatnot. But as I said at the beginning of the video, there's a lot of talking and actually very little happening. Some orcs get close to them but they don't see them. Meanwhile, back in Khazad-dûm, Durin and Elrond are continuing digging for Mithril, and they have some kind of heart-to-heart moment, talking like really good friends, but then they open the tunnel, they manage to break the wall, and they see the other side there is this enormous chasm underground that is filled with veins of Mithril. But the king discovers them, he's not happy, and they kick Elrond out of Khazad-dûm. And he has a really emotional and heated up this argument with his son, because they are discussing about Durin's loyalty being towards Elrond and his loyalty towards his people, and Durin retorts saying that the king is too set in his ways, clinging too much to the past. And the king obviously doesn't like this, and he removes Durin's necklace, sigil or something, like he's disowning him as the prince. Meanwhile, back with the Harfoots, Nori wakes up and finds out that the stranger's magic actually worked, and everything that was born has not only been healed, but it also has bear an enormous amount of fruit and crops. Even the tree that was completely born is now covered with leaves and fruit, and everybody is really happy. But Nori's friend, while she was collecting water in a stream, she sees a really big footprint, and a little downstream there's the strangers we saw a couple of episodes ago, who are tracking the stranger. And then they appear that night close to the Harfoot camp, and they are searching the tree that the stranger healed, and Nori approaches them and tells them that they're going the wrong way, that the stranger actually went to another direction. And then Nori looks back, then she returns her gaze to them, and they have disappeared, and then they appear out of nowhere behind her. And Nori's father tries to scare them with a torch, but the leader of who I suppose is the leader of this group just grabs the torch with their naked hand and with their bare hand and absorbs the fire, and then use this fire to conjure some kind of magic and sets fire to the Harfoot camp. Meanwhile, back in the Numenorian camp, the survivors are floating in with the wounded and the like, and Elendil has trouble with Isildur's horse because he thinks that Isildur is dead, and the horse doesn't obey anybody except Isildur. So he sets the horse free so he can go back and find Isildur or something, and then he starts to pass from sorrow to anger, and he starts to develop hatred towards Galadriel. And speaking of the devil, Galadriel and Theo arrives to the camp. Theo goes to the healer's tent to look for her mother, and there are a lot of wounded here, some with really ugly and serious wounds and burns, and he sees a woman with dark hair covered by a bloody blanket, but no, his mother is alive, and so is Arondir. And Galadriel goes to speak with the queen, and she's really sorry. She feels very guilty about all this. She feels that everyone that died and got hurt is her fault, because of course everything revolves around her. She's the center of the bloody world, of the bloody Middle Earth. But Queen Miriel is not sorry or afraid or anything. Actually, she wants vengeance. She says that she vows that Numenor will return, that she will return to Numenor, and then she will come back to Middle Earth with an even bigger army, because she understands now the threat of the surviving orcs. Now that they have a land of their own, they are going to multiply, and she says that Numenor will destroy them, and Galadriel vows that the elves will be ready as well. Meanwhile, back again with the Harfoots, they are recovering what they can from their burned camp, and everybody is really sad, but Nori's father gives a very heartfelt speech, which inspires Nori to leave the group and go find the strangers to warn him about the other strangers that are hunting him. And other villagers said that you're not going alone, we're going with you. And so this fourth Harfoot, Nori, her friend, Old Sadok, and Nori's mother set out to find the stranger. Meanwhile, while the Numenorians are living in their ship, Galadriel, Arondir, and Bronwyn are talking about the survivors moving to an old Numenorian colony by the mouth of the river Anduin, which is a place that later will become a port for the kingdom of Gondor. And Galadriel is informed that Halbrand is still alive, but he is badly wounded and he needs elvish medicine. So while she will go back to King Gil-galad and face whatever consequences for her action there may be, she will bring Halbrand with her so he can be healed. And while he's leaving, all the surviving Soullanders cheer him up. And wait, he leaves by horse? I mean, he's supposed to be gravely wounded. He's bedridden and all, and then he just walks out and goes riding at full gallop with Galadriel. Back in Khazad-dûm, Disa is not happy with the decision of the king, and then she gives this really strange pep talk to Durin that I did not like at all, because honestly it feels like she's encouraging Durin to commit sedition and take over the throne, which I feel it feels like it's really out of character for her to be even suggesting such a thing. But maybe I hope I'm reading too much into this. and the king is back at the tunnel that leads to the mithril veins, and he has the healed up leaf with him, and he throws it into the hole, and the leaf falls a great distance underground, and then it combusts spontaneously, and the Balrog of Morgoth appears. It's still alive under there, surrounded by the mithril. And meanwhile, back into the village's ruins, Adar addresses his orcs, saying that they don't need to fear the sun anymore, and the old man asks Adar how are they going to call this place if it's not going to be called the Southlands anymore, because Adar says that the Southlands is a place that no longer exists. So we get our answer. Now this is Mordor, or I think that is how Galadriel's actress Morden Clark is going to pronounce it, Mordor. So anyway, that is the end of the episode, and as I said, almost nothing happened. I mean, there was a lot of talking, a lot of silent shots just showing their surroundings, but what happened? The surviving Númenóreans and Southlanders left the ruins of the village and the remains of the Southlands and went to their camp, because practically all of them reunite there. The Harfoots arrived to a clearing. Then that same night they are visited by the second group of strangers who set their camp on fire, and by next morning Nori, her mother, her friend, and old Sadok leave the village. I mean, I think that everything on this episode happened in one day. One morning, then one night, and then the morning after. And it happened so slowly, and there are so many unnecessary scenes. I mean, so many tear-eyed moments between Durin and Elrond, and then this Elendil having just standing there watching, looking really sad, first looking for Isildur, then accepting that Isildur is not going to come back. I mean, this scene of him releasing the horse, trying to calm down the horse and then releasing the horse, is like maybe 3 or 5 whole minutes long. It's way too long. And this little thing of Theo going to find his mother, this scene lasted like 3 whole minutes. There was no need for this scene to be this long. And this scene with Nori's father giving his speech, and then Nori deciding to leave and others joining her. Again, this scene also lasted like 5 whole minutes. There was no need for that. And again, we lost this part of the leaf falling down the chasm. Was unnecessarily long, just to, well, yes, it was actually really wicked, the revelation, the appearance of the Balrog, but again, a lot of wasted time. And then the revelation that the Southlands is now Mordor. Again, this scene was too slow. It's like the producers of this episode were like making time. They're like, we still don't. I mean, this is episode 7. It's like they are saying we don't have episode 8 ready. It's not finished, so we have to make time with episode 7. We have to delay. It feels like that. This episode was just filler and delay. This is the Technomage signing off. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next episode. Goodbye.